I spent 6 to 7 hours per day only on Twitter.
Pratham Kumar. He went from a zero to almost 250k in under 24 months. In this video, we talk about his journey.
For the first 10 days, I was learning HTML. I created a content on 10 interesting elements in HTML or stuff like this. Then I was started learning CSS. I started creating content on CSS.
Why he decided to create content.
This is a good field to build your career in. So that is why my goal was set that I have to learn it and I have to create content as well, because this is the future basically.
And his experience and learning so far.
Developer relations team is built on three particular things, which is code, second is community, and third is content.
If you want to grow on Twitter, then this is the episode for you. If you are excited, before we begin, please subscribe the channel and let's roll the intro.
Okay, if someone wants to start creating content, right? So the first thing is that okay, it was pretty random, I can say. Like in the COVID era, one day I was like just sitting around reading some tweets, and then I came across a technical tweet. Basically, it was a thread related to some computer programming. So then I thought this kind of a things I can do as well. So I had a lot of free time at that point of time because I was in third year of my BTech, so I had a lot of free time. So then I simply started creating content basically, which revolves around web development, because at that point of time I was learning it. I was doing 100 days of code by seeing other creators on Twitter mostly. So that's how it started. I started writing single tweets in the beginning, single tips and tricks. Actually, I started cross posting and syndicated those content on other blogging platforms as well, on Hash.dev too, and Medium as well, I think. But the thing is that I like Twitter a lot because here we can build a strong network as well and build a huge community. So that's why I focused mainly on Twitter. And right now as well, I'm posting content only on Twitter. I have a blog, but that's pretty much inactive. So that's how I started creating content. But the fun fact about my journey of content creation is that I was creating content in my first year of college as well, back in 2017. But for that, at that point of time, I was creating a content for a startup. It's called NoteSub, I believe. As far as I know, it's called NoteSub. So I was creating content, but it was not related to web development or something like this, but it was related to all the subjects that we have in our BTech, typically in India. So that's how I started creating content.
Okay. You mentioned two interesting things, that you started content creation in your third year, seriously, like individually, and you started posting about web development. So when you started creating content, what did you know specifically? Like what was your knowledge depth into tech? Because why I'm asking this, because most of the folks feel like they should be, pro in sort of technologies to post about that stuff. So what was your level of expertise?
So like that's bullshit. That's the bullshit phrase that you have to be pro in a particular technology, then you can start creating content. That's not true, to be honest. Like when I started creating content, like on Twitter, basically about web development 2 years ago, I was completely new. I was learning web development. As I mentioned, that at that point of time, I was doing 100 days of code basically. So at that time, what I have done is that all the things that I learned on a particular day, I simply drafted a tweet, I simply drafted a thread and posted it on Twitter, that these things that I have learned on this particular day. So you don't need to be a pro or an expert in a particular field or things. If you want to start it, if you want to create content, you can do that right away if you are learning stuff. Because like, for example, if you are a pro, if I'm a pro and trying to write a content, you still need to still need to read a bit about those particular content that you want to write. So anytime you want to write content, you first have to go through, brush up your skills, and then you can create content. So I think if you're learning something, you can do that along the way.
Okay. So you mentioned that you were learning something during the day and compiled all that during the night. So did it not get very hectic, like doing that stuff again and again every day for 100 days? How did you keep up with that?
So here's the thing, like web development is a vast field, so I'm not learning or creating a content on a particular topic daily. So for example, for the first 10 days I was learning HTML. I created a content on 10 interesting elements in HTML or stuff like this. Then I was started learning CSS. I started creating content on CSS. Then I started learning JavaScript. I started writing fully fledged threads on JavaScript. So the thing is that this particular field, technical field, especially web development, if I talk about web development, it's pretty interesting because there are lots of things to learn. First, you need to learn HTML, CSS, JavaScript, then maybe GitHub, then maybe about databases, APIs, then framework. So there are a lot to learn, and there is always a huge margin of improving your particular skills in a particular thing. So that is why this is not boring. If you are, if your mind is set that you have to create content and you have to do something in this particular field. So that is why this is not boring, I can say, because as I mentioned, there are lots of things to learn and there are lots of things to talk about in the community.
So, like when you were creating content in your initial days, how was the response like? Were you getting views or impressions on your tweets, or it was just like you were posting and no reactions to it?
Yeah, that's the thing. I was just posting it and hardly I was getting one or two likes, to be honest. So beginning is always tough. If I can say that in general, beginning is tough in any particular field, not in the tech, not in content creation, basically. So that's the thing. When I was new, I was creating content in my initial days. I was just getting one or two reactions on Twitter and on other blogging platforms as well. Like on Hashnode, I was just getting one or two reactions only in my initial days. But the thing is that I have to learn. I had to learn web development because like this is a good field to build your career in. So that is why my goal was set that I have to learn it and I have to create content as well because this is the future basically. Now you can see like a lot of people are nowadays doing this. They are learning stuff and they are creating content as well. And the best
Hmm.
part about creating content is that you can along the way build a community because like creating a community is important as compared to content creation because how do you build community? I think by posting content is the best way to build a community in a particular field. Like talking about developer community, you can do that by posting development content. So that's how I was doing it. I was just getting one or two likes, as I mentioned. It was pretty, I can say, unmotivational as well. uh, but yeah, I somehow managed, and then I started getting response. Maybe after 30 days or 40 days, I gained first 100 followers on Twitter. I was pretty happy, and I was like, wow, that's the thing. And now I need to do more in this particular field.
But then, why did you keep going? Like, if you're not getting traction in the initial 40, 50 days, so why did you keep going?
Because like to try any new field in the initial days, you have to give at least a few days, right? You can't just learn web development for first 5 days and then you vanish the way.
Hmm,
so
okay.
so
Hmm.
that's the thing, like for the first 30 days, if you want to see result in a particular field or particular thing, you have to put efforts first, like at least for the first 30 days, and then you can start seeing the responses from the audience or from your clients basically. So that is why like I was posting content, I was getting one or two likes, but I was like, it's okay, I will keep doing it and I will see after 2 months or 3 months what's the response from the community and where I will land. So that's how, and luckily it went really well for me. Like after crossing 10,000 followers, it was it was like a cakewalk for me, to be honest. I was just posting threads and it was getting huge response. To be honest, I was very lucky, I can say. But again, the thing is that here you need to be consistent. If you're if if you're creating content, you need to be consistent and you need to listen to your audience as well, that what kind of content they are looking for from your site. So that's how I started, and that's how I build a strong community on Twitter.
Hmm, interesting. So, when you say consistent, what do you mean by that?
Like so the thing is here, if you're creating content, don't create it for the sake of gaining some followers, to be honest. Like create content for the sake of learning new things. That's how you can grow. If you are followers minded, that I will post this content and I will get 100 followers, this will never work. But if you create content with a mindset that you have to learn something new, then definitely you will gain followers as well, and you will gain some more knowledge. So to being consistent, I can say that remove all the thoughts from your mind about followers or following. Just keep on the track that you have to learn something new. If you are for example, if you're writing about APIs or REST APIs, just focus on one particular thing, be consistent trying to learn this, and then create content. That's how you can consistently post content without thinking about following or followers.
Also, like when we are learning and posting content, is it important that we consume good content as well so that we learn how to structure our content?
That's the thing. Like as I mentioned, for example, if you're creating content, you first have to brush up your skills. You first have to take reference from here and there, and then you can create a top-notch content, I can say, where you are providing some good values. So if you want to create content, that is good. Like everyone is creating content, right? If you Google about the APIs or REST API, you will find thousands of blog or articles related to
Yep, right.
REST APIs or a particular thing. But the thing is that only a few of them are good. Only a few of them are providing true values. So that's the thing. If you're follower minded that you have to gain a huge following by writing a particular piece, this will never work. But if you are a if your mindset is in that direction that you have to gain something, some new knowledge, then it will definitely work. So talk about something unique always in your content and try to phrase it like so that it's easy to consume for consumers.
Okay. So if someone is just starting out to put out content on Twitter, let's take Twitter for this example. So what do you suggest? Like they should keep a frequency of tweets on a daily basis, or it's okay to post randomly as well?
I think it depends, but in the initial days we have to niche down our skills. For example, if you want to talk about JavaScript, then keep talking about JavaScript for the first few days. Don't divert your content. For example, one day you are talking about JavaScript, other day you start talking about Python. This will not work. First, you need to build a community on a particular domain. For example, post Java about JavaScript first 30 days. Try to build a community of JavaScript developers, and then you can migrate from one type of content to another. But in the initial days, if you talk about various stuff, this will not work in my opinion. But again, it depends. It may be work, but that's my suggestion, that always niche down your skills, at least in the beginning. For example, when I started creating content, I always talk about CSS, but after a few days I
Right.
started talking about JavaScript, React, and nowadays I'm more talking about APIs. So that's the thing. You can always migrate from one type of content to another after a few days, after building at least a small community, and then you can migrate.
Also, one thing that I've heard quite often is that you should just not simply keep posting content. You should also engage with the audience, engage with others' content. But the thing I struggle with here is like if we are learning
Mhm.
in our initial days and trying to engage as well, then it becomes sort of addictive and time consuming that we tend to leave behind our learning stuff and focus more on the Twitter side of things. So, how do you manage that?
Maybe you can divide your work flow, or you can divide your day in a particular manner. For example, you have to engage 1 hour per day, you have to create content 3 hours per day, and then you have to learn something new 4 hours per day. That's how you can manage your time. Like time management is pretty tough or challenging, for example, especially if you are building a community on any social media platform, not just on Twitter. I have seen a couple of good folks having huge following on Instagram, Facebook, even TikTok as well. So they are doing pretty well by posting technical content. But the thing is that it's social media. You mentioned that anyone can be addictive. So that's the thing. Time management is important.
Hmm.
When I was building my community on Twitter, what I did, as I mentioned, I was completely free at that point of time because I was in third year. I had nothing to do, and it was pandemic, so I was just sitting in my house. So what I have done, to be honest, like I spent 6 to 7 hours per day only on Twitter, and it includes creating threads,
Wow.
writing threads, engaging with others as well. So I considered this social media as my full time at that particular point of time, and it worked out. It really worked out in my favor.
If I talk about specifically about your content, you
Mhm.
share very amazing tools and resources for developers like boot.dev. I can't remember the names right now. But my what I want to ask you is that two things here. First thing is
Mhm.
that do you try those tools yourself before posting them? And the other thing is, where do you find these tools? Like, do you take out time to specifically find out some interesting tools, or you read blogs or watch videos and these keep on coming to you?
Like, to be honest, I first try those tools by myself, and then I post about those tools in my community. For example, building a community is totally based upon the trust. For example, I talk about anything random tool, my community will start hating me and they will start unfollowing me, or maybe they will stop interacting with my content, that Pratham is posting bullshit content. So that is why I always first try those tools myself, and then I post those tools with my community, and then I share those tools with my community. And talking about finding those tools, like I have spent 12 hours in front of my computer on my desk, so I do a lot of googling, I do a lot of searching here and there, internet surfing. So yeah, like finding those tools are not that easy, I can say, but not that hard as well. So that's how I find it, and that's how I share it.
Interesting, interesting. On your Twitter profile, it's the pinned tweet there says that thanks to Twitter, you got your role at Rapid API. So I want to ask you that what do you think that what role Twitter played in you getting that role as developer advocate? When I say what role, I mean that did you have thousands of likes and views on your tweets, or was it just the enough number of views to get to the right eyeballs?
Okay, here's the thing. I'm working as a developer advocate at Rapid API, and developer relations team is built on three particular things, which is code, second is community, and third is content. I am writing code because I'm a developer. I'm creating content on Twitter, and I have a community on Twitter. That's why I'm in DevRel today. So Twitter played a huge role because that's my key platform. That's my main platform where I was creating content, and I am creating content right now as well. So that's how like recruiters or hiring managers will notice you if you are focused on a particular platform and talking about a particular technology. So that's how Twitter helped me. Even like I got this opportunity at Rapid API from my Twitter profile itself. So here's the thing. Here's some benefit actually of being active on social media platforms.
So basically, what I again coming back to this same question, like were
Mhm.
you creating specific content which caught the eyes of the recruiters, let's say, or your views or engagement in general was so much that they contacted you? I mean, what thing worked out for you?
I can say both maybe, because like they were looking for a person who has built or some experience of building developer community. I have built developer community on my Twitter profile, so that's the one thing. And I was talking about web development in general, which includes APIs as well. So Rapid API is all about
Right.
API. So they were looking for someone who can create APIs content, API development content. So I think that's why I was the best fit there, because I have built a developer
Mm-hmm.
community and I was talking about APIs as well.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah,
So
so yeah, sorry to cut you off. So the thing is that, for example, if any Web3 developer, if they were talking about crypto or blockchains, maybe they will not hire them, because like they just need a person who can talk about APIs. So that's the thing. I think having a huge community is not that effective, but talking about a specific type of content or having a specific knowledge matters a lot.
yeah, right. Basically, you mean that the number of views matter, but if you have a good enough amount of views in a niche down community, that will matter more than you having various views, various followers in different topics, right?
I can say that number of views doesn't matter much, but having a developer community matters a lot. So, so here's the
Right,
thing:
right, right.
in a particular developer role, you have to build a developer community, right? Developer advocate generally build communities, build the demos, and try to pass out external feedback to the team so that we can improve our products. That's what developer advocate do in a day-to-day life. But on the other hand, what creators do, they create content, and number of views matters for them, not for developer advocate in general. So that's the thing.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. That makes sense. Okay, so like you create lots of content, you post lots of tweets. So I'm sure that you must be scheduling them beforehand. It's not like you are sitting on Twitter and keep on tweeting them every now and again. So you must be using some kind of scheduling tool. So what I want to ask you is that what tools do you use that helps you optimize your Twitter productivity, if you use any?
To be honest, I'm just using one, which is FeedHive, created by
Okay.
Simon. I'm just using one. There are a couple of other good tools as well. I have tried those tools, but I'm not using those tools in my day-to-day life. I'm just using FeedHive to scheduling tweets, and you will be shocked by knowing this that I will never track how many number of followers I gain in a particular month, because that's just give you unnecessary headache and
Right.
hecticness basically. So just just create content, post it there, try to engage with the community. That's it. You will eventually gain followers at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And one
So
other tool I
basically,
want to mention,
yeah, go on. Yeah,
i'm
yeah,
using
yeah.
I'm using Brandbird as well. Brandbird is basically where you can create images or maybe gifs as well,
Mm-hmm.
and you can post on different social media platforms. They have a built-in support where you can create a fixed dimension images for Twitter, for Instagram, Facebook, Reddit as well, I think.
So, like, you mean that if you are starting out to create content, the main focus should be on learning and being able to communicate that in the right manner. The focus should be on delivering value to the audience rather than focusing on the number of followers.
Yeah, that's right. And one important factor is that you should always listen to community, that what kind of feedback they are providing you related to your content, and try to improve that next time. So feedback is generally important, and how will you gain feedback? You need to interact with the community members in order to improve.
One thing I want to ask you before we
Mhm.
end this conversation and move towards the end is like, if someone's listening to us and wants to start creating content from scratch, what would be your like three golden tips or three pieces of advice to that person?
Okay, if someone wants to start creating content, right?
Yep.
Okay, so the first thing is that create content. Don't overcomplicate the process. Just write it and just post it wherever you want to post it. Doesn't matter, on social media platform, on blogging platform, or any other thing. Just post it. Second thing is that be consistent, at least for the first few days. Maybe in the first few days you will not get much response. Maybe you will like zero likes or one like only. That doesn't matter, especially in the beginning. So just be consistent at least for the first 30 days. And the third most important thing is that try to improve. And how will you improve? Again, you need to listen to the community members. You need to go through with the comments that you are getting, and yeah, fetch some feedbacks and try to improve in your next piece.